Hi guys, Henrik Scholder with Mechanix Menace here. I am about to start notching this rectangular tube here, which is a part of the tube chassis structure for the front firewall. So I'm using this hole saw in my old vertical mill here to do that. So let's see how this works out. As you can see, the hole saw is a bit wobbly, but it still turns out holes with the correct diameter. So I think this does look pretty good. I think I did end up with the length I wanted. So now I just have to dress this, cut this part off here and see how it fits. But first, a cup of coffee. When I notched the tube, I made a little thought error, so the notches didn't get the correct position sideways. I found that out when I tried to fit it on here. Luckily I could move them without having to scrap the tube. So now I have fine-tuned the notches and I have put everything in place here. I have the little welding jig, I have a lot of clamps clamping everything together, so everything is positioned hopefully exactly as it should be. So the next step is to weld the tube in place. Let's have a little look closer up how it looks. So as you can see, a lot of clamps are necessary. For instance, the round tube bent upwards a little bit when I tacked it in place here, as I said in the last video. So I had to clamp it down with this clamp, and yeah, all the other clamps are also there to have everything nice and tight and not moving while welding. So this is how it looks from the inside of the driver's compartment. And here you can see the fitment towards the round tube there. Now it's in focus, I think. Yeah, let's start tacking. Now the tube is tacked in place and I have taken all the clamps away, as you can see. And it looks like the tubes are still basically nice and tight up against the welding fixture. Doesn't look like I have gotten any big distortion, which is nice. So I am going to take the welding fixture off, and then I am going to check with my laser if the top round tube is still horizontal. So with the laser aligned against the top of the tube, you can see that the line is parallel to the tube and has more or less the same thickness from end to end, meaning that the tube is still horizontal. Nice. The tube you see on the lower right corner is the tube I made a long time ago. It's a support tube for the strut towers, and this was when I intended to keep the stock chassis and I was just going to beef it up a bit. But now that tube will be cut away And also you can see it's there's a support tab which is welded to the windshield wiper axle, and when I cut the tube away, the windshield wiper axle housing, I guess, will not be supported anymore. So the gray sheet metal piece you see there is like a template that I made to enable me to get the correct orientation of the windshield wiper axle housing once again. So I made some markings both on the windshield wiper axle housing and also on the windshield beam there. So then when I reattach it to the new tube, I can get it in the correct position. Because I guess when I cut this tube off due to welding distortion, everything will not be in the same position anymore. So here I have started cutting the tube off. I had to do it with a hacksaw because the angle grinder couldn't reach all the way down. And there it is, cut off. And here you can see a template I made to see where the upper part of the firewall would end up against the A-pillar. Initially I had planned to keep the stock A-pillar as it was, and that would have meant that the corner here would stick out, protrude in front of the new firewall. But yesterday when working away here, I decided that it would be better looking, lighter and stronger to cut this corner off and then kind of let this go in the plane of the new front firewall. So I have made a little template here. Ouch! Like this, to cut the corner off at the correct angle and placement. So let's see how that looks. So you can see here that after a lot of cutting and filing, I have gotten a nice straight line here, and the template is well aligned with the two tubes there. So this looks pretty good. So the upper rectangular tube will come up here, and then the sheet metal of the firewall will come all the way out here in one plane. And as you saw previously, I cut this tube away. I'm going to cut it out more, so the new tube running into the engine compartment will attach here. And since it's not the same diameter and I will not be able to weld it all around, I will make some supports. And I also cut away the support for the windshield wiper axis here, and as you can see, it's a bit wobbly. That's why I made that template yesterday, to be able to weld it back in the correct placement so the wipers get the correct sweep. And I think the next step is to start cutting the tube that will go here. Yeah, I think so. I have cut the rectangular tube to shape, roughly, and I have kind of notched out the A-pillar a little bit more here to make the tube fit. Of course, it's gonna take a lot more fine tuning to get it to fit perfectly, but yeah, that's how it looks roughly in place. Looks pretty nice. The tube is now held in place by this welding fixture and a lot of C-clamps. So I am just about to tack weld it in place. The tube is now tacked in place and I am pretty happy with the outcome. So the top of the tube here will of course be cut off here, and then this whole area will be welded in with sheet metal, and also the tube here, the top longitudinal coming from the engine compartment will attach here, and I will have to notch the rectangular tube out, and also when welding it to this tube, which is kind of a remnant from when I didn't intend to build a full tube chassis, but this was just a support tube going to the strut towers. Well, this weld here I won't be able to reach all around, so I'll weld this tube up as far as I can, both against this tube and against the rectangular tube, but then I will make some support brackets going probably into the windshield beam, and I don't know, maybe down here as well, but it'll be strong and stiff enough in the end, I'm sure. And let's have a look from a little bit further. So this is a fairly major addition to the tube frame compared to what has been done lately. Then I have mostly been working with all the small sheet metal pieces for the rear wheel well, but this structure is, yeah, it's easier to see see the results here. And yeah, this is how it looks from the side. A little cramped here in the garage. And this is the view from inside of the car. And let's have a look. Yeah, this is basically what's left of my original 240Z. Not very much. Okay, well, again, thank you for watching, and we'll see what will be the next video. Thanks and bye.